What
back.
is going on, Kark Army, Karkisadors? Got a big special Friday edition here. Before we jump into the show, we just want you guys to show the love. If you're enjoying this, if you are liking what we're doing, like our page, like our videos.
If you're just bored.
Or if you're just bored, share the video. Maybe somebody else will find it entertaining if you don't. So we have a really special guest today. To my right, Jake Keeneman.
It is.
We have an entrepreneur, we have a bar owner, we have a brewery owner, we have a program manager, we have a former football player, number 60 in the program, number 1 in our hearts.
Absolutely.
And also an amateur mixologist, which is a story we'll get to later. So, Jake, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, good to be here, dudes.
Thanks.
Good to be here.
So,
Anybody have any unfinished business?
that's a good question. I don't have any necessarily, unless we want to talk about what you did today, because I heard you had a rough day at work.
I did.
What'd you do?
I worked from home.
Okay, how many naps did you take?
Just one, but it's glorious.
Okay, good. So unfinished business, got some rest back.
I finished my business in the middle of the afternoon.
Oh, God, okay.
There you go.
Whoa,
You got
that
any
came out
unfinished
weird.
business?
Yeah.
That came out weird.
Any unfinished business?
Could be anything. Anything you want to, maybe had going on this week that you want to just put a staple to.
I think this week can go there, and it feeds into, I think, what we're going to talk about today with just going out and starting shit. And
Okay.
so there's this trough of despair. I saw this thing earlier that it's like you start on the hill and it's like, no, this will be super cool. Like, this might be a little tough. Oh, this really sucks. And then you get in the bottom and you're like, oh, why the fuck am I doing this? And then you start to come back out the other way. So my unfinished business is I was firmly in the trough earlier this week,
Good.
but I feel like I've broken out a little bit of it. So
Got your head above water?
I don't know about that, man, but at least there's some more salt in the water, so my fat ass is floating. So we'll see how that goes.
I will say, the poundage per square inch in this
man,
car right now.
It's heavy.
Dude, you guys did a great job with the previous videos of having the angle right, because it felt like an SUV.
Thank you.
And that's why I was surprised that it's not an SUV. We'll just leave it at that.
We did have an SUV for one of them.
He's the one complaining about how many chins he has, and I'm like,
Yeah, there's
you
no good, man.
can't do it because, I'm going to hopefully have a beard like that soon so I can cover my chin.
Well,
that's the goal.
it is.
I just entered a year-long beard competition, so I'll have to
Did
get
you?
some tips.
It's great camouflage. I'll say it that way.
To
I had
your
some memories pop up in the old Facebook feed the other day, and let me say I'm really happy to have this beard.
It's good.
To your point, Mark, really putting this four-banger to work here.
Just
Look, guys.
don't try and come off the line hot or anything.
No,
You'll be good.
I don't think so. It drives like a 6, though.
It drives like a six.
So, what's our
Fuel
topic of the day,
efficient 6.
Jake?
So talking to you guys, I really liked your post, or not post, it was a short video about getting out and doing things.
Yeah.
And the minimalist, I think,
Yep.
turned you on to that.
Yep.
And so I got a little encouraged and went and watched that. And then there's another one on Tony Robbins. So on Netflix, it's called I'm Not Your Guru.
Fantastic.
And I thought that was pretty interesting as well. And then I've gone into a deep rabbit hole of the Gary Vaynerchuk podcasts and,
You can get lost
and all
in there.
that. So it's the last couple weeks have been interesting. But I think it's about doing stuff.
So, I guess that's a good point. So, tell us because you, in the last, 4 or 5 years, have done a lot.
Yeah.
With, your life personally, getting married, and then, doing the brewery, and then this bar, and I know there's more on the tap. So,
Yeah.
what motivated you to get started and just go after it?
So when it all started, it was about 2010. I was still living up in Chicago.
Okay.
And a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine from college, lives in Cincinnati, and
Look at this
said,
girl. Come on.
hey, we
Like
should
her.
start looking at craft beer.
Yeah.
And so I
You're
did.
good.
Started looking around, but decided that I wanted to see what was happening in Indy as well. And so came back and met a guy who was everything that you want in Indianapolis, was a stranger, but invited me over to his house Thanksgiving of
Sounds a little
2010 because every Thanksgiving they got a bunch of beer people together. Cool. And he's like, if you're interested in meeting who's doing what around here, come over for Thanksgiving, bring some beers.
Yep.
So we became fast friends, and that was about the time I moved back in 2011, and we just started hanging out, drinking beers, and then in 2012, kind of agreed that if we were going to start something, that it was the time to start planning and see where we went. So that was really the motivator for let's do something.
Yep.
And then doing it in Indianapolis was seeing what was happening with the Super Bowl, seeing young professionals get re-energized about the city, where those of us that grew up here,
Yep.
I mean, I don't think I'm alone in saying we looked forward to getting out after college and not potentially coming back. So seeing that whole new energy and the support for it.
The development in the neighborhood we live in has been incredible too. I mean, I've only been here for 3 years, and, you know, all of the lots are full. It's completely redeveloped. There's new houses going up all the time.
Yeah.
That's just a great energy.
I mean, look at downtown. It's exploding.
Right.
Yeah, and so, you know, the city, Indianapolis downtown just had a thing last night, and they published a report about the number of restaurants that have opened and number of tech companies and all this other stuff. So just a super exciting time.
Yeah.
And that kicked it off. And then everything has pretty much flowed from the brewery. So 2 years ago, May 4th of 2015, we were launching the brewery and taking a look at the landscape of things and realizing that if we didn't have a place to showcase our beers alongside some of the beers that maybe we look up to, that we were going to get lost in the shuffle.
Sure.
And it just happened that a space pretty close to my house and on a corner that
great location
that I enjoy was
What's the name
opening.
of the bar?
So the Cool Ship is at 25th and Delaware.
Yes, check
right
it
next
out.
to Goose the Market.
I had some table beer at lunch today.
Thanks,
Whoops.
man. So we decided to open that, but literally signed the lease on that the same week that we launched the brewery. So
you didn't take on a lot at all, did
no,
you?
no, and that's been the biggest thing for me. Is my job from the business end is to get out ahead of it. So I'm typically 18, 24 months out from where we actually are.
Gotcha.
And that continues. So right now we're talking about projects that'll finish in late 18, early 19, planning for 2020.
Wow.
And that's crazy.
That is crazy, because a lot could happen in between them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And I think just to go along with that statement, like, the planning part is so essential, and Micah, my wife, is a huge proponent of this, and she's really been my motivation to actually get something started. And that's why I started doing this CARC thing, you know, and just like wanting to become a brand and get on a platform and be a speaker. And like, that's always been my dream. Everybody's nightmare of public speaking is what I want to do. So, you know, my wife encouraged me. We watched The Minimalist. We watched Tony Robbins, I'm Not Your Guru. Yeah. I mean, any Gary Vee video will get you motivated to run through a wall. And that's kind of what JJ and I and our other buddy Craig are thinking of, like, how do we build this strategically, and how do we make this something that people can get behind? And you're right, like, you're not going to get into it until you just actually go out and do it.
No, and you learn a lot from it too.
Yep. So
we kind of get on each other, Josh and I especially, because he is the brewer. The brewery is his domain, and our agreement from early on was that I was going to try and help keep the lights on however I could.
Yep.
And we've really come into that in the last 6 months of, I trust that anything that comes out of that brewery is ready, it's delicious, it's taken care of, and he trusts me to make sure that we have the money there.
Right.
But we all get into conversations all the time. We meet every week and get in conversations all the time, which is like, we didn't anticipate any of this. You know, any of this stuff that
so
goes
quickly?
Well, not even that, just all the intricacies that it takes to actually keep something alive and open, and cash flows, and just everything that comes with
got
it.
the CPA.
Well, there you go. Yeah. If you
God willing, I need a calculator for everything. That's not gonna be good.
But no, you got to get out, and it's awesome to hear that Micah's supportive, because that's a complete other thing. Megan, my wife, we met a couple weeks after I moved back in 2011, got married in 14 as well, so 14 was a busy
Big
year.
year. Yep.
And as we were getting married, that's when everything was really kicking up.
Gotcha.
With the brewery getting built and everything since then, and having her support has been incredible. And it's also great to have somebody that knows you so well that can give you a little bit of a check from time to time.
I get check on the reg. Like,
So
knows when to check me.
we got that this week too, which is always helpful.
That's good, man. That's good.
I have a question, Jake.
Yeah.
So I heard you and your partners on a podcast. It was a beer related podcast, and I heard a story that caught my attention, and you're talking about the friction or the potential friction or the difference of views between someone doing one thing for a business and someone doing another. And the story I heard is that you guys, after every, I don't know if it's weekly or after every meeting, or that you go downstairs by your cooler and you have what I can only describe as an airing of grievances.
And that's exactly what we call it. No, that's exactly
Is that what you call it?
Yeah, and we call it the airing of grievances.
So what? My question, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but what's the craziest thing anyone's ever said during the
that's a little
airing of
personal.
grievances? I mean,
Let's get the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
First.
So the whole thing with
Shirtless
that
wrestling
is,
happens.
business is truly a marriage, and we've used that analogy throughout the last number of years, which is that it ties into everything that makes a successful marriage, makes a successful business. And so as part of that, you have to be able to vent your frustrations, articulate them. We talk about it at Salesforce, giving the specific situation, behavior, and impact that it has. So don't use a bunch of hyperbole on it, like you always do this, you always do that. It's like, hey, when you do this, here's how it impacts me, and here's how it impacts the business. And so that's really where that started. And man, we've had some hard truths told to each other during that time. But I think the best part is when you ask that question, I don't know. Because a lot of it is we get it off our chests, everybody kind of looks at each other and goes, fair? We still got to go. You got to put your head down and you got to get it done.
All right.
And I think that's, but yeah, it's always on the table. It's the last agenda item. So you can feel the tension when somebody or when two people have it. Yeah, for sure. And you know it's coming a lot of time. Like we're not, you know, naive people. But as you feel it coming, it's okay. Who wants to go first? And then let's get it all out. You have to be able to take it as much as you can give it, and then it's squashed and everybody walks away. But
no grudges held.
No.
No,
absolutely not.
And that's the business side of a personal relationship, and that's what you got to keep reminding yourself is this is business. At the end of the day, after we leave this basement, we're still going to be friends, but we're also business partners too, so let's figure it out. Move on.
I will also tell you that business changes friendships, though. So when we, in 2012, started planning, and in 2013, we were convinced that at 29 years old, we were going to get a bunch of people to give us $1.5 million so we could open a 30,000 square foot brewery. This will shock you guys. That didn't happen.
Oh my God! What?
I am bored.
I know. Don't fall back there. But as part of that, talking to a couple people who work for banks that have been around stuff, and they said, are you prepared to have your relationships change? And hopefully you don't lose friends over this, but your relationships will change. And we had to talk about that. And really think about it. And it has, especially when some of those airing of grievances happen. It changes it now. Do we still love each other and everything like that? Absolutely, as friends and people. But there's also times where things change.
Sure.
So what's the hardest thing, or maybe the most unexpected thing that you've had to deal with in starting a small business like you have?
Oh man,
small businesses like you have.
For us, it's the permitting process.
Is it?
Yeah. So
there's not a lot of permit we have to do here in the
no. You guys are good.
Registration's up to date,
right? So. Yeah. Hope you don't get tagged on it, you know. But for us, we knew from the brewery side how long it takes. So to open a new brewery, the first thing you have to do is apply for a federal permit from the Tax and Trade Bureau. And as with anything government right now, there's one or maybe two people in Washington, D.C. that review every permit. And you guys may know that craft beer has been growing crazy. So they literally have a queue of 6 to 8 months before they even review your permit application. The issue is that to submit that permit application, you have to have an address, an operating agreement, and architectural plans. So you have to have everything in place to open the business, and then you just sit
on it for 6 months,
however long it takes.
That's nonsense.
So for us, we just got ours for the new spot that we're opening. It only took 4 months, and we were super happy about that. But still, that's 4 months of us sitting, and the 4 months before that of getting all the documentation together. So we knew about that. What we didn't know about was with the bar, and specifically with all the construction permits and build-out permits and everything like that you have to have.
Yeah.
And so right at the end, we submitted for what's called a structural permit because we were building a bar.
Yeah.
And we got held up for 6 weeks, and it turned into a complete mess because we didn't know all the regulations that went into reusing a space. So we've learned a lot, and that's where now new projects that we open, we know who to talk to, all of that
Makes
stuff.
sense.
But
you,
man, that was
kind
tough.
of to the tied into what we're talking about. You wouldn't have ever learned that if you didn't
No.
start. Just
Yes.
do it.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you got to just start, right?
And you can do it. You can pay somebody to do it, or you can do it yourself so that you know the next time how to do it, and you can save money.
Right.
And that's the way that we've taken the approach.
Because the cool part about what we're doing is we are not making any money. This
Right.
is just for fun, and like we'll see where it goes.
But where do you want to see it go?
That's a great question, and you know, my wife always talks about that. Like, what's your end game? You always start with the end game in mind and kind of work your way backwards. What do you want this to be? And I feel this could be a platform for us to grow an e-commerce company. We could grow speaking opportunities. You know, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Barstool Sports. I love what they do, and you know, Pat McAfee and like what he did, retiring and doing what he was passionate about. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, like just the idea to go out and do what you're passionate about. And I am passionate about speaking and just entertaining people and being in front of people. I mean, you've known me since high school.
Right.
You know, so that's where we want to take this is get to that level of being a noticeable brand that is, you know, recognizable and enjoyed.
So I mean, with that, do you see it as I think it's James Corbin doing lip sync stuff and having celebrities hop in the car, or you know, like what are your thoughts right now?
It's actually fun because we just had a production meeting. I use that word loose. Production meeting last night while watching the NFL draft.
Yep.
And we came up with a couple of other segments, and one of them was Kark in the Park, where me and JJ are going to do physical challenges. So it may not always be in the car. It may not always be in the car, but you know, to expand.
Talked about doing Kark in a bar.
Kark in a bar.
Kark in
you
a
know,
bar.
take the you know, the shot or drink of choice at the bar. You know, but just to expand it out, and then that can also get more into the community, because at the end of the day, like you said, we are 317 natives, so we want to build something that's going to be local to 317 and, you know, help Indy keep blowing up.
Sure.
You know? And that I think we can all agree that's kind of where we want to take this now.
Yep.
So how long have you been doing these? I know I went back and watched, but I didn't look at dates.
We've been karking for about three weeks, maybe
4
a
weeks,
month,
maybe a
not
month,
even
maybe
a lot.
a
Yeah, I
month.
mean,
Careful.
yeah.
Careful. You're almost going to make a quarter.
I know. I know. So yeah, we definitely have not been doing it long, and it's just interesting as we go and just learn a little bit about what we're doing. You know, I mean, something as simple as, I can tag Jake Keeneman in the Go Live video, so I don't have to share it with you know. So I mean, it's just the little intricacies of any business that you need to learn. So it's good. That's
So
good.
is it going to be for right now the two of you guys, and then?
Yeah, I
the
mean,
third?
yeah.
One thing we're talking about doing is selling some merchandise.
Yep.
I saw that.
Got a new logo.
We got a couple of logos in the works.
Did you?
Yep.
Did you have somebody design that for you? Or?
All right, yep.
We do.
Our
That's
other partner, Craig.
Gotcha.
is a whiz at that stuff, if you will.
Graphic
So
designer.
We're working on that, see where that goes, and we're going to just kind of feel it out as we go and keep having fun. And
Yes, that's the key. If we're not
see
having
where-
fun, it's not.
See where it goes. Yeah.
It's not really worth doing here at the end, because obviously it's a time commitment, but at the same time, again, because we have supportive wives, the fact that they're allowing us to be idiots in the car is always is always fun. So it makes it even that much more rewarding.
For sure.
So yeah. So I'll ask you a question, Gary V. You know, the minimalists. I had a phrase in my rant I did on Go Do Shit where it was, you know, it was talking about enjoying people and experiences and using things, not the other way around, right?
Yeah.
You want to love people, love experiences, and use things, not love things and use people. So what would kind of be like your advice that you could give to our tens of Carquistadors that are listening?
Tens.
Both
Both. Probably my mom and my sister, maybe my wife.
I don't know, those eyeballs are racking up right now. You know, I really liked how you talked about experiences over things.
Yeah.
And that's been a big thing for for Megan and I is travel over items. So I go clothes shopping about once a year.
Yeah, heard that.
You know, and we have a projection screen in the basement that the projector's been broken for like 6 months and it hasn't bothered us. So I think number one is look at travel and going out and finding experiences,
Yep.
and then bringing them back to your life or your situation and going from there. So we have, and I've been lucky through work as well, to travel and live abroad. And so now as we look at projects that we want to do here in Indy, we're looking at concepts that we found other places.
Interesting.
And connections that we found other places.
That's cool.
That we can make happen here. And so I think without the travel, then it's easy to put the blinders on and just go, oh no, this is what's happening in Indy, so we're going to open another version of X, as opposed to us going, man, how much fun was that in Austin? Let's do that here. Or in northern Spain, they do this stuff that looks like you're at somebody's Super Bowl party, but you're actually at a bar, and you can just pick all the different appetizers you want, and they'll cook them for you.
Ooh,
let's do that.
Meal of sides.
Yeah,
sides.
my favorite.
That's
my
his favorite too.
Do you know what I was talking about at Boston Market?
It's so good. You
so
don't
good.
need an entree.
Don't need an entree.
Unreal.
So that's that would be the biggest thing is, and we take it, I think, to an extreme at times of spending more time out of the house and going out and eating and drinking and stuff like that. But at the end of the day,
That's what you enjoy.
yeah.
Couldn't agree more, man. Like, we're in the process. It's a hellacious process of moving.
Did you find a new place already?
Yeah, we're building a new place. It's smaller. We're downsizing.
Yep.
So we're downsizing in space and crap. And the whole point is, you know, a cheaper place, which means more money to do experiences. And we're going to try to do, like, Mike and I just talked about doing 2 vacations a year. She
Yep.
plans one, I plan one.
Yep.
And just kind of like change it up. So I'll get into what she wants to do and she'll get into what I want to do. So I completely agree with that. Experiences over things.
Yeah, Megan's got a couple of really close friends from the CrossFit gym that she goes to, and they talk about planning trips quarterly.
Nice.
With their significant others or spouses.
Yep.
To make sure that you have something on the books that you're going to go do, because otherwise you let life get in the way.
Sure.
And it gives you something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you don't have something that you're counting down the days almost, it's like you're just in that daily grind and routine and just get so repetitive, you know? So,
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm working the bar tonight. We started to see this pattern with Chris Porter, who runs Coalship, and we've got a beer fest this weekend in Memphis. And so I said, I'll cover your shifts, get out, go see what this is about, because going and having those experiences elsewhere really helps remind us why we go through the daily grind of the shit that we do right now.
Yep.
To make it happen.
Well, and that'll also be good for him to experience that and bring it back and re-energize him, and
That's the hope.
it's good. That's good, man.
Yeah.
It's a good boss. I'd work for you. Cool.
Try.
So, JJ, did you want to take us into the next segment?
Yeah.
Thank you for that, by the way. I
course.
think that was a great explanation of what we were trying to accomplish
Yeah.
today.
So what we want to do with our guests, to the extent that they know both Mark and I, is try to share a personal story,
I got a good one.
our favorite personal story about when usually the 3 of us were together. That's kind of the
Okay.
idea, right? So I'll kick it off.
All right.
My memory of you, and I don't know why this memory happens to stick, but
Because it was awesome.
we were at a high school party. There was some underage drinking going on.
Never.
Sorry, Mom.
Never. We
and-
weren't that smooth. They know.
And yeah, you're
Totally
right.
no.
Right. We didn't drive. We stayed the night. No biggie.
Yeah.
Jake shows up with a backpack,
Oh god.
and we say, "Jake, what's in the backpack?" He's like, "Oh, I got something for you."
Remember when I said amateur mixologist?
Yep.
So he pulls out the contents to make a flaming Dr. Pepper.
As soon as
Sort
you
of
said
Dave,
that, I
which
was
sort of
getting
Jake's
ready to say I tried to light something on fire. I
Yeah.
couldn't see it. Yeah.
So if I remember, it's beer.
Yep.
So-
Amaretto
so
and 151, right?
being high school, it was half a 16-ounce Coors Light.
Yes.
Coors.
A shot glass that was 3/4 Amaretto
Yeah.
and a quarter
151.
Bacardi 151.
Yeah.
And then
Light it on
it.
fire.
yeah.
Drop it in there. Chug it down. Tastes just like Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, and then when we were feeling spicy, we tried to spit fire, but that just wound up us
didn't do
spitting
that.
all over everything and then still dropping it
Hey,
in. So that's safe.
I'll be honest, I don't remember that part, but that sounds about.
I think I might have had too many of the real ones to not remember that part.
Yeah.
All right, you want your turn?
It's weird that we're bonding over high school drinking,
It happens.
because
It happens.
mine was walking in, and I forget even the house, but it was super dark. There was a kitchen island, and we walked in again with a case of Coors Light and set it on, and you guys had been in the basement gaming for at least 12 hours.
Non-gamers, but gamers.
drinking, yelling at each other. And I also distinctly remember that we had a couple of our female friends that may have been on a soccer team from high school.
Oh.
And all they could talk about was this stud lacrosse player from Carmel High School named Mark, aka Kark, and how much they were looking forward to coming over to meet him.
Oh my
So,
God.
you know,
man,
Thanks, dude. Really had to kick me in the dick there.
Pumped up his ego. You pumped up his ego.
Look at me blushing right
Yeah, he's
now.
blushing.
you know, and then of course, I mean, you wearing your Butler jersey out to the bars and
That was
in
one
college.
time.
But it was the summer.
One time per weekend?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was the summer.
whatever,
It was
guys.
cool.
Everybody, it happens. All right, so my story, high school again, and weird, it comes around drinking.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you had that beard. And
Yeah, I think
you
so, too.
used the first time. I think this is the first time I ever met you. JJ and I showed up at a hotel party.
Oh, God.
And I will not name the spot or who was there.
Spring
but
Hill Suites on Michigan Road.
what the hell, dude? I just said I wasn't going to name the spots. We're not trying to get Spring Hill
man.
Suites. Anyways,
Oh, man.
so I show
It's
up.
changed ownership
Yeah,
4
for sure.
times.
First time I ever meet Jake, I'm like, "What's up, man? I'm Mark." He goes, "I'm Jake. Here's a cigar." I was like, "Okay."
Jesus.
So we're smoking cigars and drinking
17
beers.
years old, smusking cigars.
Black and
It is
mild.
Beers in
hotel
the
room.
hotel room.
Yeah. The follow-on
We
to
got
that.
kicked out of that place.
I was gonna say that
I think we got busted.
The follow-on to that is that was one of either one or at the most 2 times I ever got to go there, because I decided to lie to my parents and say that I was sleeping over at somebody else's house.
We don't recommend that, by the way.
And
Fine.
so my parents met me in the driveway of my friend's house the next morning as I was dropping him off, thinking I was slick. And I will never forget my mom getting out of the car, looking at me and going, "I'll take those keys." And you may not know, I'm a larger dude. My mom is 5'3", and that was the most scared that
matter.
I've ever
Ooh,
been
weight
in my
pants,
entire
probably.
life.
Does not matter.
Yeah.
My mom's from Jersey. She used to sit me down so she could be taller than me.
Yeah, it's not good.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Got
Never
good
again.
stories. Okay, so we'll end the show with shout outs. So,
Okay.
do we have any shout outs?
I'd like to shout out to
start
the
up?
Cool Ship. If you're near Northside, come
Absolutely.
by, see Jake, have a beer.
What is your favorite beer that you guys brew right now?
That's a good question. Right now we've got Garden on, which is our little 3.6%.
Had one of those too.
Yeah, slightly tart, lemon and coriander, and it's just great for the summer as it's going to get warmer here.
Nice. So
So-
Garden is what's hot right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Garden. Shout out to the Coal Ship. Shout out to Central State Brewery.
Yep.
Shout out to where we can go to get some of these hats.
Also for sale at Coal Ship,
Beautiful. All right, we'll be picking up a couple of those.
$25 for those.
Come check it out.
Yeah. I
Awesome.
think
Shout
I'll use the cliche to shout out you guys for doing this.
Thanks, man.
Because I think it's, as we talked about a little bit, just planning, like getting out, doing it, seeing where it goes, and I think this is going to be a fun one to look back on in a couple years. Because we're getting questions right now about like, hey, where's your business plan? And I'm like, oh, we got this PowerPoint deck from 2014 that hasn't been updated. And while people aren't necessarily happy with that answer, it's so true for us because we've just been grinding on it since 13, 14.
That's all
So
you can do is grind.
see you guys in a couple years and we can go from there.
It'll be fun.
All right, man.
All right.
Dude,
come back
thanks
and
a
see us
lot,
again.
man.
For
Once
sure.
we get shirts, we're going to get you a shirt.
Yeah.
But we definitely appreciate you taking time. I know out of your what is a busy schedule to come chat with us. So everybody, go check out the bar. Go check out the brewery. Great atmosphere. And there's some food trucks during the week. I mean, you guys have all the information on Facebook about when it's coming out. So check it out. So everybody, thank you. Have a great Friday. Have a safe and happy weekend. And we will be back at you next week. Take care, people.
Later.
Peace.